You're watching BCTV, Brantford's Community Access Station.
Just Saying, Connecticut's hottest news show. Opinionated, thought-provoking, and inspiring. We're going to have a lot of inspiring conversation today, but before we get started, we're going to talk about our drink of the day. This is the viewer's favorite part. So I came up with a drink of the day. It's inspired by change of season, backyard fire pits, tailgating, football, you name it, all that kind of stuff. And it is the sparkling pumpkin cider beer tail.
Which is why we don't have the straw in it.
Which is why we don't have the straw in it. So it is pumpkin ale, sparkling apple cider, a little bit of cinnamon, and a
really
dash of lemon.
That's delicious.
Yeah,
that is really good. I don't think I've ever had pumpkin beer before.
Yeah.
Ever.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
I like it.
And the
I had a
wonderful
beer
thing
person.
is the lemon kind of cuts it. So for people that think they aren't beer drinkers, you can have this. It's still a little bit sweet. You know, ladies kind of appreciate it. But the lemon cuts it, so if you don't really, so it's wonderful.
Good choice, Steph.
Thanks.
You know what? If it wasn't for this show, I wouldn't know about any of these drinks.
We're going to definitely have to talk about our beer book.
And
how's our drink book coming along?
I know. We got to get a bar book.
You said you were going to do a
bar
bar
book.
book.
We need a bar book. Yes.
Okay.
It'll be a hot seller.
So while you guys sip on your pumpkin beer tail, we're going to talk about hot topics.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. What do we got
So the
going
hot
on?
topic for today's show is Connecticut. And the fact that more, I know, right? Who would have thought? And the fact that there are more big corporations leaving our state, taking jobs with them. So the question is, the hot topic is, have you guys ever thought about leaving the state? And if so, where would you go?
I'll tell you, last week I couldn't register
Tell
my
us.
car. I could not register my car because I couldn't get the taxes paid in the town because they kept, you're 5 minutes late, they send it out to a collection agency.
Yeah,
I
and
was
it's
on the
another
phone with them,
$50.
back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then my registration expired. And then I got stopped by a lovely Guilford police officer who couldn't have been any nicer to me. And he said he had gone through the same thing with the taxes. So that's just one level of taxes that really annoyed me. We are the only state besides Texas that taxes cars.
Yes.
And they don't, and the DMV and the tax in the towns don't talk to each other.
No, they don't.
I've had the same
No, they
problem
don't.
and been pulled over for not the car I was driving, for another car, a trailer. Oh, it's like a long involved story, and I need a couple of these.
And this is a funny story real quick. You know how I got my introduction to the tags and the taxes with the cars? When I first moved up here, my husband still had a Florida plate on his car because he and I used to live in Florida. And he got pulled over picking me up from the airport, and the guy that pulled him over called him a tax evader because he's still so the running joke in our family is, you know, we're tax evaders, even though we're not. But anyway, that was just kind of a funny thing. So, yes.
My daughter goes to school at University of Delaware, and I just came back there from this weekend. There's no taxes down there.
None. Not even sales tax.
I love it. It's a
But
great
you know,
place
it's
to go
more
shopping.
than listen, I'd be the last one to say I don't want to pay taxes, but the fact of the matter is that it's people are moving out because they can't get jobs.
Right.
The cost of living's too high.
Right.
We have an aging demographic, which I know our guest ladies we're going to talk about a little bit.
Yep.
But it's a challenge, you know, and at some point, you know, party politics aside, people have to recognize that there's a problem here.
There's a problem.
Yeah.
You know,
Where does it stop?
you know,
Yeah, they're going to go back into session
Yeah.
again.
right.
Yeah. And what was the
Or-
statistic you gave the other day? The states that people are actually
yeah, this
moving
is
out
good,
to?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for every 11 people that move into Connecticut, 18 people are moving out.
Wow.
And the 3 popular states, they're moving to New York first, Massachusetts, and Florida is number 3.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it's not the elderly that are moving.
Isn't that what you said?
So we're really going to have an elderly state
Right.
because
Well,
they
you
can't
had said-
afford to
You had
move.
given a statistic about that, about the age of the state.
Yeah, so Connecticut is the 7th aged, oldest state in the country.
And that has to do with the
Oldest with age,
Constitution.
Oldest, yeah, oldest as
The
in
residents
the
are
age
age.
of the people
And
that
that's
live
going to
here.
continue.
Average
We're going to
age.
continue to move up. in
Right,
that.
right.
I mean, I've been saying this, you guys
So where
know
would you
for
move
years,
to,
but
Dodie?
My first thought would be Florida because it's
Oh, God.
so
Oh,
warm
no.
and
I would
sunny
never
there.
live in
But
Sorry,
Florida.
people, but no way.
No
but
way. I live
would
there.
definitely
I
rethink
couldn't
that.
live here.
But I'm
Yes,
concerned
humid all
about
the
the
time, frizzy
elderly
hair.
that can't leave here.
Right.
What financially has strapped them? What is the reason that
Income
they can't?
tax.
Well, but they can't
Property
leave.
tax.
Property tax.
Or
Taxes
so
on
in other words,
cars.
they've been
It's
paying
just-
all these taxes
it's
for all these years, and
Yeah.
therefore they can't afford to move out of here.
Well, I think
Well, they're
also
families here. They
It's
want
family,
If
yeah.
you have,
Well, see,
if
for
you
me-
have elderly parents that are here,
Right.
you're not just going to up and leave.
Right.
You know.
Or
Right.
I think for some older people, it's what they know. You know, like my family, like my dad, my aunt. This is where they were raised. This is where they grew up.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
Okay, so
I
it's
think
not
it would be-
necessarily a financial issue.
Well, it is in the sense
in
that
all the, in
I
all
guess
cases.
theoretically they could pick up and go because their money would go farther.
Well, and
their
support
fixed
systems. I
incomes.
think the other thing is support systems
But
that
the thing
people
is that you
have.
have to leave an area that basically has really good medical. We are in we're very lucky to be here in
Right.
Connecticut. It's excellent medical, and you go take it to another state, and as you're getting older, you need more and more of this.
Yeah.
You don't have the support systems in place. there.
And the state of Connecticut, having been in the elder care field in Georgia, the state of Connecticut has a lot of really great programs for
Yes.
older adults.
That's what
Not
I was
every
saying,
state,
yeah.
not every
So is
state
that why
can
they're
say
living
that.
longer?
Well, I possibly, yes.
That'll be up to
But I
us,
think,
guess.
Jody,
Well, good
also,
medical
to your
support.
point,
Yeah.
I think if somebody has a little bit of resources, they're going to either completely move out because they're trying to. We always say this is the worst state to retire or die in.
Yeah.
So if they have resources, they're moving out because they want to protect their assets, or they're getting a place somewhere else, and then they might live here for part of the time because they can afford
yeah.
to do that.
Yeah.
Like my in-laws got to the point where they did that. My father-in-law passed away this year, but they couldn't afford to do that anymore. So they ended up coming back to Connecticut because they
They're lucky
couldn't
they
afford
could
the
come
two
back.
The
places.
second place,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it was basically, you know, were they, you know, could they afford being here? No, but at the same time, they couldn't do the two places, and they wanted to be with their family.
I mean,
Right.
aside from the financials, I
Yeah.
love Connecticut. I'm a real
I do
New
too.
England
I do
girl.
too.
I love the Four Seasons. I love that you know, we're rich culturally with New York and Boston nearby. You know, the seaports, the ocean.
Which is
this a
why we've
wonderful
got to
place
turn it
to live.
around.
Yeah, we do.
And
have
I'm
to.
interested to
It's
hear
pretty.
too
How
what
do you
our,
do that?
yeah, well well, hopefully our
Term
legislators
limits.
are going to be working on that.
Let's
but,
hope.
But I'm
Put us
interested
in
to hear
charge, but
what our
besides
guest
that,
is
Yes,
going
you
to
know,
say.
if we
Yeah.
were in charge, we could fix it all. I'm
Yeah.
telling you right now, because we know how to balance a budget.
We would.
Cheers.
Yes. Cheers. Drink up. So, any other hot topics we want to talk about? No. Did that just kind of bored us all, didn't it?
No, it didn't.
I don't think so.
Well, where would you move to?
'cause you're
Probably
from- you go back
Georgia
down
because I would
south?
have to say that because my family is there.
right.
But
Okay.
That's kind of cool, though, that you have.
yeah, I'd probably move back to Georgia. I don't know. New York would be great.
I think I'd
but,
kick butt in Georgia. What do you think?
You would kick butt anywhere you went, Cindy. You
They
kidding
love
me
me
down
with
there?
my accent.
Yes, they would love you with your accent. Yes, but yeah, hopefully Beverly, our next guest, will have a lot of interesting. Yeah, I'm sure she has some perspective on that. All right, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, our guest is going to talk about a subject that will at some point affect us all. What is it? Stay tuned. Welcome back to Just Saying. Our guest today is Dr. Beverly Kidder. She's the director of the Aging and Disability Resource Center at the Agency on Aging of South Central Connecticut. She has 50 years experience as a social worker helping older adults in the greater New Haven area. She's a part-time faculty member at the University of New Haven, and she is the award-winning author of the book Gift of Caregiving. Beverly, thank you for being here. Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thanks
Yeah.
for asking me.
Thank you for taking a lot of time out of your busy schedule. I know there's a lot going on at the agency right now. So for our viewers that may not be familiar with what the Agency on Aging is, tell us a little bit about it.
Okay. The Agency on Aging, we're in our 41st year here in Connecticut. We're one of hundreds of agencies on aging across the country, but each one is an independent nonprofit. Sometimes people think we're a state agency. We're not. We're a private nonprofit in the community, and we provide services in 3 areas. A lot of people know us for our home care services because we serve a huge number of clients, between 3,000 and 5,000 clients. We deliver care management to and help them plan and get the services they need to remain living at home independently. So that's one piece that we do. The piece that we were founded to do, that we've been doing for 41 years, is to help our legislators on the national level know and understand what the problems are for older adults, where the gaps in services are, et cetera, because they believe that you only know that from the local level. So we analyze that. We do needs assessments every couple of years and look at that, feed that information up. Now, one might think based on that we'd have wonderful social programs for older adults that are amply funded, because we certainly tell them what the needs are. But given the constraints of budgeting, et cetera, it doesn't always filter back down to the community the way we would like. But each year we do get large sums of money that we then distribute to nonprofits throughout the South Central Connecticut region. So this year we have 24 agencies that we provide funding to. And people are not, I think, aware of the fact that things that we take so for granted now in the Aging Network were really programs that were made possible by the agencies on aging. So things like Meals on Wheels, that was a product. Senior transportation, that came from agencies on aging. Senior centers came from agencies on aging. And we fund these things for a period of time and with the hope that eventually they become self-sustaining. And then we try to direct the funds elsewhere. So that's one of the things we do, is we provide these grants to folks. The other thing we do, and I direct that piece. I have the opportunity to be the director for all of that. But the other hat I wear is to direct our more of our direct service programs, where we actually, our staff lay hands on one way or another with older adults in the community and people with disabilities. We now serve about 30% of our clients we serve are younger people with disabilities. So that's been a big change in the last 5 years. Yes, absolutely. We predominantly focus on young people with disabilities who are themselves Medicare recipients. That's how we got involved with the disability piece. So with our direct services, one of the biggest things we do is provide information and assistance to people about community resources. And most of that is telephone, although we do in person, and when necessary, we do in-home visits for folks. And the biggest topic that people call us about is Medicare. So we have a cadre of 92 trained, certified volunteers who know Medicare inside out. And this is our busiest time right now. Open enrollment for Medicare is going on at the moment. And we help people understand Medicare and how to make Medicare choices. And we are the official, impartial source of information that has nothing to sell. So those are the 3 things that the agency offers services in. And I would suggest to anyone who had a question about any aspect of aging, it's a very good place to call to start, because if we don't provide a service, we know who does. Our information counselors are all certified to do the Medicare stuff by Medicare and by the state of Connecticut. And then we have something called AIR certification, which is a national certifying body about community resources. So our people really either know or know how to get accurate information about that. So that telephone stuff is a lot of what we do. We also run a lot of volunteer programs and training programs. When I was listening to you in the first segment talking about Connecticut and the problems, one of the huge problems that we have is employment for older adults. 65 years old is Social Security retirement in people's minds. Companies are still going on that, but the reality is the younger, older adult can't retire at 65. They still have to work. And so what we have is the majority of people over the age of 65 currently are employed. They are not retired. It's a misnomer to think they are. But some companies push people out. And directly and indirectly, legally and illegally, people end up with no jobs late in life. and it's very hard to get back into the workplace. So a lot of what we do is trying to do retraining for people, remarketing of their skills so that they can remain in the workforce. Because even if you want to retire, Connecticut is a place that it's very hard to retire.
It is.
Well, you know what's really interesting? I run a home care agency, and I had an 83-year-old come in to apply for a job as a caregiver. We hired her. She had to go back to work. She can't afford to make ends meet. Can you imagine at
That's the
83,
whole-
this is what you have to do? I mean, thank God she's in really good, physical health and everything else, but 83.
So let's
Still
talk about
Yeah.
So let's talk about ageism, because I know that's one of the initiatives that the Agency on Aging is really trying to kind of bring to the forefront. Talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
So we launched a campaign on October the 15th to try and stop ageism now.
Yeah.
And we have a wonderful website. Go to it, look at it, sign on, give us your opinion. There's an opportunity for you to share your thoughts and ideas about ageism. When we started talking about ageism at work, and I work with 150 people who are working in the aging field, we said ageism. They said, why do you want to stop aging? If you don't age, you die. We don't want to stop aging. We want to stop discrimination against
Stop aging?
people
Right.
who are older. Ageism is a term that was coined back in the 60s in the civil rights movement by Dr. Butler. And his hope was that, like sexism and like racism, that we could do something about fighting discrimination against older adults. Truthfully, for a lot of reasons that I won't go into now, it was not a successful project. But we want to pick that cause up and go out and challenge that and try to do something, because we're driven by this. We see the discrimination in employment and how that affects older adults
Boy, I think it
financially.
starts even at 50.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it
It
does.
does.
Yes,
It
yes.
just starts
Definitely.
early on when you have kids in college and you're at the height of spending your money, and this is what's happening.
Well, I can't tell you, Bev, because I have a law practice, and I counsel, and then depending if they have a case, we have attorneys we work with, but the number of people in their 50s that, get downsized out of their jobs legitimately because the companies are leaving or whatever the circumstances are, and then they're trying to get reemployed after they've been with a company 10 years or whatever. And that's the biggest challenge, because they're still well within their working years, and quite frankly, it should be their highest earning years in their 50s, and they can't get a job. One gentleman I got really friendly with, him and his wife, he's nothing wrong with it, but he's working at Raymer Flanagan. He can't, and he was working as an IT guy at a company. So, I mean, it's very difficult, and not only does it affect the financial piece of the household, but the emotional, your self-worth, right?
And the discrimination in the hiring, and then not only in hiring but in training, we find that tremendously. No point in investing in her. She's going to retire in a year. Why send her to this training? And then because you don't have this training, then why keep you? Because your skills are
Right.
not. So it's this vicious cycle that we find. And it so ties to poverty with older adults in Connecticut. We have double the national average of poverty rates amongst older adults. And the cost to live in our state is so much higher, as you so eloquently addressed, that it is something. We also have healthcare discrimination that happens. We don't study older adults in all this marvelous research. You look at any research design, and we eliminate older adults from it. So then we don't know what the efficacy is of the treatments for older adults, but we
That's a
give
great
it to them
point.
anyway.
Yeah.
So those two are the driving points that we decided we are going to launch this campaign. It's a multi-year campaign. We want to raise awareness about it, and we want to get people hopping mad about it and do something about it.
Absolutely.
Because unlike many other isms, we are all going to be victims
Right.
of ageism.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if we don't die, we're going to get old.
Right. Do you find that it affects women more than men, or is it equal across the genders?
That's a very good question. I assume it affects women more than men just because we live longer and there's more of us doing it. Proportionately, I don't know. I just, in 1 second, want to point out also, it isn't just the negative things about old people, it can be the positive things too. When you treat an older adult like a child, even no matter how sweet
We were
you
talking
are,
about that
Right.
you
the
are
other day, yeah.
taking away the thought that they can be responsible for themselves
Right.
to make their own decisions.
Right.
Well, I never understood that, but my mother-in-law always says this, and she's 87, and if you met her, she, is in tremendous health, and she always despises it when somebody says, "Oh, sweetie," and she's like, "Why are you talking to me like that?" Like,
Right.
and I don't know
Yeah.
why there's that mindset to do that, because
Right.
again, I work with a lot of elder
You
clients.
infantilize
Even
people,
imagine.
and then they no longer can
Right.
be in charge of themselves
Yeah.
or their economics, or a whole lot of other things. And so we want all the sweet little old ladies gone just as much as the dirty old men.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna, you know what? We're gonna take you up on that, and because this is something that we're all equally passionate about. So, thank you so much for coming
it's
and
my
taking
pleasure.
time out of your
Thank you,
busy
guys.
day. Yes,
That was wonderful.
We could talk
Thank you
for
very
hours.
we
much.
could stay for
Oh.
hours. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hi, welcome back to Just Saying. What do you think of Bev? Wasn't she
Oh,
great?
she's awesome.
Outstanding.
She's awesome. Yeah, she's great.
Outstanding. I didn't realize there was so many, there was such a wealth of information
Yeah.
available.
Yeah.
She is a fountain of knowledge.
And talk about age. I mean, I don't think she's shy about it. We could say
Yeah,
she is
she's 70.
young.
She's 70.
70 years young.
And
Yeah.
still working
Yep.
and
Yeah.
pumping. I said to her, she is the
70.
face of ageism in a positive way.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
absolutely.
So the more with this whole baby
Yeah.
boomer, people retiring or moving
Yeah.
into that, not that they're going to retire, but moving into the 70s, we're gonna that's going to change the face of things
Yeah.
because they're going to demand the change.
Yeah.
They have demanded changes all along the way on a number of things, women issues, race issues. So they're going to do the same thing with age issues.
She's in constant motion, that woman, and I'm telling you, they're doing some great work over at the agency, so I'm really glad she's here. So, Patty, what do we have in our mailbag?
Oh, well, this is fun. A lot of people have asked us to share some personal information. And how deep do you want to go?
What do they want to know?
Well, you remember my dating story.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Natalie asked, it seems that you ladies have so much going on. What do you do to relax? Jody, what do you do to relax?
I love to watch sappy love stories on TV to
chick
relax.
flicks?
Yeah, mindless,
Tearjerkers?
mindless, sappy love stories. I'm hooked on reruns of Judging Amy. And so when I hear you talk about your law practice, I can hear
Ooh.
Judging Amy, Golden Girls,
Oh, I love Golden
and
Girls.
Touched by an Angel. That I just those are my go-to when I need some calm, inspiration, reality.
Yeah.
You know, I like Judging Amy because she's not perfect.
Yeah.
And she's got issues.
Issues.
Amen.
That's good. None of us
that's
are.
good.
Well, you guys know I love to cook, so cooking for me is like my sort of salvation. So I get in my kitchen with Gianna on in the background, and I'm like,
So you have like the
Yeah,
family
the
there, the
cardigan.
smells. and
yeah, it's
yummy,
like
yeah.
the whole thing. Plus we got the kids and everything, but yeah, that's a lot of what it. Plus I teach yoga. How about you guys? What do you?
Well, you know what? Running an agency with 40 employees is in and of itself crazy.
Stress, yeah.
But also having 4 children and then running with them. So it's like I really have 2 full-time jobs. So when I have some downtime, what I like to do is get away from everybody, including everybody, and go sit in my hot tub.
Oh, there you go.
That's nice.
Do you
Yes, and it's
sneak
really
out there so
relaxing.
nobody knows you're out there? Like, where's mom? Mom,
We'll
you
see
hear them in the
I didn't
house?
even
Like
put
11
the
o'clock at
lights
night,
on.
we should go by your house.
I should not put the lights on. Nobody knows I'm in there. But I'm in withdrawal today because I made the decision because the electric bill is so high that today I had it winterized and closed down for the season. We won't reopen it until the spring, and I'm
So
really
no
depressed.
Well, you could sit in it
So-
empty.
I don't know what I'm going to do to relax now.
What about a regular
Bathtub?
Bathtub.
Bathtub.
Yeah, I have a big one.
Buy
but,
some
you know,
bath
I'll need to find
salts.
another activity. That's all.
What do you do, Erica?
Besides
She doesn't relax.
beverages,
She
yeah,
just keeps going,
relax.
going,
Am I
going.
supposed to relax? As everyone says, I had somebody ask me, what do you do for yourself? I'm
You're
on a
not
plane,
sure.
I'm
You're
on a
still
plane.
working.
Yeah, I have to work on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not good at
I
that.
think that's the problem. So
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of women, and when
We
you're
don't
in
do
the mode
enough
of
of it.
working
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
what you sacrifice or whatever is yourself. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like you don't,
Right.
you know.
I spend time with my dogs. I have 3 dogs, 2 pugs, and a little mini dachshund.
that's fun.
And of course, my husband and my son. I love to read. I'm a book hoarder. And then doing anything outside, going hiking. Yeah,
That's
and
probably
volunteering
nice.
if I can.
taking a walk.
Especially,
Yeah, taking a
when
walk,
the weather's
yeah.
nice. Well, it doesn't matter. All
Yeah.
4 seasons, I'd love to be
Yeah.
outside.
Yeah.
Just that cool,
Yeah.
crisp
Nice.
air.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I find that going to the gym helps me refocus
Yeah.
it really relieves the stress. And all I do is the
God, the gym
treadmill and
stresses
the
me out.
recumbent bike. So
Yeah.
you know.
It does,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it really
But
makes
you know
me
what's
feel
that?
better.
And we also went to, a lot of us went, me and Dodie went to the comedy night with you for
Yeah.
Orchard House, which
Yeah.
was a fun
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
So
You
Laughter is a good medicine.
You have to
It is.
laugh.
Laughter is a good medicine.
And you know what else you have
Yeah.
to do?
Laugh.
You know what else you have to do? You have to give to others. So I do find that volunteering is really cathartic. I want to, that kind of leads us into, most of you know that just about every show we have a food sponsor, but I decided to change it up a little bit this time. And instead of having a food sponsor, what I wanted to do was kind of highlight our food pantries. I don't know if any of you donate to food pantries. I'm sure you all do. But food pantries are always in need, year-round. They're in need of non-perishable food items. We have a little display here. All of this stuff will be going to a food pantry here in our community later on in this week. But you know, there's a lot of people out there who just don't have the things that the rest of us have.
You know that
And
most
so-
food pantries will also give you a list of recommended items, what they need, and
Right.
I see seeing a lot of them post them on Facebook
Right.
or on their websites.
Right.
That they'll say, you know, we need peanut butter and jelly, or we don't
Right.
need that. We need soups, or
Right.
we need, you know, they'll give those recommended
Yeah,
items,
and
which
I've
is
been-
helpful to me.
Right.
I'm a big Y and I see something on sale. I'm like, oh, that was on the list. Buy one get one free.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like, it's
Well,
really
you know what?
hard.
I've been seeing them show pictures of the pantries, and they're
Yeah.
barren.
They're barren. Yeah.
Well, that's the interesting thing. People are generous. They do, particularly on the holidays. You know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, people think, but they actually need food year round.
They do. They do.
So you know, when you're not thinking about it like in the spring and
Yeah.
the summer because you're in your
Summers are really hard times because a lot of people are on vacation. When you have
vacation,
snowbirds
Yeah,
and
so
they
you're
go,
not thinking about
people aren't really
pantries.
thinking about it, and that's really when they're the most
North
critical.
Branford opened a pantry up just a few months ago, and they're extremely successful, and they've been getting some fresh produce as well, which
Oh,
is nice
nice.
to hear. And I
Which is
think
nice.
Branford
Nice.
does as well for their dinners, so
Yeah.
it's not all the processed, because at one point someone said Chef Boyardee is a good thing to donate because it's a meal and has some protein and carbs in it, which it's not something I know I would feed my family, but you're in a situation, it's
Right, right.
You didn't
Yeah,
eat Chef
it's a
Boyardee
meal.
in college? I ate Chef
Oh, no, no,
That's
no.
the first time I had canned macaroni. My mother would let us eat any of that stuff growing up.
ramen
College is
noodles.
ramen noodles.
Ramen
College-
noodles.
No,
College is
I'm
better.
Italian. We didn't have ramen noodles. We had
But-
Chef
But
Boyardee,
having
macaroni
said
and
that's a
cheese.
great point, Erica. I think it's really important to have
Yeah.
people focus on the nutritional value, and I
Yeah.
always recommend definitely whatever community you're in, follow up with your local food bank, because a lot of food banks are not, they're trying to stay nut free, and so they're trying to
Well, you know what
peanut
happened?
butters
Oh,
and things of that
that's
nature. But you know,
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
this year, my trees, I have an apple tree and a pear tree,
Yeah.
and all these were like crazy. I just put the big
Right.
laundry basket full and dropped it off. They took it. They wanted
Oh,
the fresh
cool.
fruit.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
so even if you think you can't give something, because right, it makes a difference. What were you going to say?
I volunteered at a food pantry
Yeah.
while I was living in Westbrook, and the people that come in, you start to develop a relationship with them. They're there every week, and maybe they'll bring their kids or whatever. They're real people that just got
A hard time.
a bad situation.
I
a
had
tough
that
So
situation.
they lost
Yeah.
their job. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And in a heartbeat, it could have been one of us.
And we're not that, none of us are that far away from that if we lose our jobs.
right.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
because this, like we were talking about before, it's so expensive to live in
Absolutely.
Connecticut.
So it was a good show, wasn't it?
It was
So what do you
fun.
think were our takeaways? What was kind of the lesson that we learned? I think Bev, actually, can I just say this?
Yeah.
I think that one of the things about ageism is that we need to kind of always remember that everybody has something to contribute, no
Yes.
matter how
Yeah.
old they are, and that
yes.
everybody wants to be valued on what they contribute, and that doesn't go away. That's not just for the young at heart, you know.
And we need to pay more attention to our elderly
Yeah.
because they may not be sophisticated on the computers and stuff, but they know life and
Right.
they know
Yeah. Survival.
human behavior and they know survival and they also know how to balance their checkbook because they didn't have credit cards when they were
That's
little.
right. That's right.
Oh, are you
You know,
supposed to
that's
do
true.
that?
Yeah, but wisdom's invaluable. You know?
It is,
Yeah.
and we just put it aside, and
Work
it's not right.
ethic.
Well, I just got to tell you a funny story. So when we were young, my mother unfortunately died young, but when we were little, she used to always say, you know, the good die young, and I used to say, well, I'm going to be mean and nasty and live forever. So
I like that.
Right?
Actually, I like that. I like that.
You like that?
Yeah, that's nice.
You know, I didn't realize that when you say to an older woman, "Oh, you're so cute," I didn't realize that that could be misconstrued because
Yeah.
coming out of
Yeah.
my mouth, I would say that as a compliment to someone.
But it could
and I
be
didn't,
condescending.
Yeah, I
It's very-
didn't
yeah.
realize.
Yeah.
So I'm glad
Yeah.
that
You're
that
making them
awareness
in-
was.
So
You're
we
making
learned a
them
lot
less
today.
than
Thank you. And thank you to
it was very
Bev.
enlightening. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you to Dr. Beverly Kidder for joining us, and thank you to each and every one of you for sharing this time. And go out and get inspired. Make it a great day.
Yes.
See you next time, Connecticut.
Just saying.
Thank you.
Just saying.
Cheers.
Cheers. Nice show.